Hello, everyone. Welcome to Karmada community meeting. Today is May 13th, 2025. So today we have two agenda. First one is for me. I'm going to share the Kubernetes Sigma cluster effort to establish a standard definition for for the central cluster. In Karmada, we usually call it a host cluster, and the definition could be used among the other projects like Karmada OCM, ClassNet, Kubernetes, MCU, and so on. So I also linked the proposal here, and also we have the proposal author here, Curtin. Are you going to share some backgrounds?
Sure, I can give a little bit of background. I think it's mostly because everyone's been calling it different names. It sounds like everyone's been doing the same pattern where you have a central cluster that is used for like controllers and potentially app declarations and things like that are more central, and then not technically running the workload itself. And then it controls or manages other clusters and distribute workloads or monitor things there. Or so there's a bunch of usages. And what I realized is that everyone was calling it a different way. And here you can say is like you guys have a host cluster. And internally at Google at some point we were calling it management cluster. I think in the community, OCM, what are they calling it? Execution? No, not execution. Hub cluster. I think it's hub cluster. Microsoft been doing hub cluster. So there were a bunch of names, and there was no real definition of what was like recommended or what was the patterns and blah blah blah. So for this PR, I wanted to introduce a name and a definition. So there's a definition that's very, very lax. It lets you do pretty much whatever you want, but I think it has the merit of being there. It's like, oh, you can have multiple of them. You can have one that's both a workload and a management or hub and all that. So there's a bunch of aspects there. So I would encourage you to look at the definition. I think it's potentially more general than the definition you have for host cluster. That might be a specific case of that. And yeah, and then the community inside of Sig multi-cluster voted for the name because obviously that's the thing we didn't agree about. And what won was a hub cluster. And that's the thing about a hub versus spoke model where there's like that central thing and the spokes being the workload clusters. So that's what we've been doing. I encourage you to look at the definition. We went through a few rounds iterating on the definition. We welcome any comments. I think we're waiting. I think we'd like to get your feedback since you've been a big user of multi-cluster, but we're trying also to get that merged at this point. So we'd love to take more comments like soonish if you can. And that's it. Hongad, do you want to give more details? Am I still here? Hope I'm still in the meeting. Hello?
Hello. Sorry.
Did I disconnect or was I all clear?
I heard you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, I wasn't sure. Like, is it me?
No, you're good.
Thank you. Is there any question? Sorry, I was like curious if there's any question on what we're trying to achieve here. It's not a breaking change by any means. It's really trying to put a name and agreeing on a little bit of a definition of what that cluster is.
Okay, can you hear me? I just
Yes,
by
you're
the
loud and clear.
network. Yeah. Yeah. Personally, I think we really need a standard concept for uh, for the for the host cluster, or no matter the name. Um, yeah, but I think since Kamada uh, use the host cluster, and some of the Karmada users might be using this concept in their product interface. Some of the Karmada adopters are using Karmada in their cloud service. Um, so I think I need to gather some feedback from the Karmada community.
And for what it's worth, I don't think you have to rename, right? It's like it's not a mandate on you to rename. We're not mandating anything on the Karmada community, and it is very possible that host, like the name of the host, makes more sense for you because you're hosting the workload definition, right? And it is possible that it makes more sense for you. You could always say, well, by the way, it maps to that more generic definition of the hub cluster for say multi-cluster, or the hub cluster for the more generic like multi-cluster
Mhm.
ecosystem, without renaming your own thing. I don't think the other projects are going to rename their own thing either. So you because I mean it's in every doc and users are used to it, and I'm sure it's in the code, and like so you
Mhm.
don't have to rename. I think what would be interesting is pointing to the definition, and maybe if Karmada's got specific aspect that it requires on the definition. For example, uh, can you have your host cluster be also an execution or like workload cluster? But that could be one thing that you can think about. What kind of like permission this host cluster has on the other clusters? I think this is something the definition is very, very lax about, because we want to allow, push and pull model. We want to allow some clusters like the hub cluster having management, full cluster admin on the workload clusters. But in some cases, you could say, oh, maybe the that hub cluster is specific for monitoring and it should only have read on those clusters. Or maybe it should not have anything and it should have a bunch of central definitions, and the workload cluster pulls things. And I think you guys support both models, push and pull. So that I think that
Yeah,
definition
yeah,
allows that kind of flexibility that you have also. So
yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you. I think once we have agreement about the concept name, I think will be great to uh, it will be great for every project adopt the same concept. I think it would be benefited to the ecosystem. So so, I will do a survey in Kamada community too uh, for this proposal. Especially, I want to make sure if the if we are going to change the concept, if is there any impact for Kamada users? So I just list some questions here, and any comments from guys in today's meeting?
Before some folks jump in, I would recommend one more question, which is, should we rename or should we make a reference of host cluster to the StigMC concept, or should we use the StigMC name as our name? I think there's a distinction that you don't have to. Karmada could use host cluster and map to like have a link, have a reference
Okay.
to the definition. That could be a flexible way with that would be very non-intrusive if you want to go there, but it's an option.
Uh, You mean even we have another concept name in multi cluster, and Karmada still use host
I
cluster.
think yes, I think that's fine because I mean at the end of the day, the name, I mean, as long as your users are clear, is like, hey, this is the pattern that also exists in single multi-cluster. We're also following that pattern. We've just named it differently for legacy reasons. I mean, people won't they won't hold you accountable for that. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I think what's really important is not necessarily the name. I know we spend a lot of time on the name. It's the fact that there's a central cluster. I mean, this is the important part where um, you use a central cluster to control other clusters,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not always the case. And not everyone's agreeing on the definition because some people say, oh, it should never do push, or it should never do pull, or it should not. I don't know. It's like there shouldn't be multiple of it or stuff like that. It's like there's different agreement, different
Okay.
definitions, and that's what we try to get to.
Okay. I can add one more question. So, any comments from Mihash, Wei Cheng? Any?
Less of a comment, more of just like a clarifying question. Might be silly, but uh, for the proposal that's under review, it's essentially just a way to standardize the terminology within the open source community, though, right? It's not like going to be including some sort of API change. Rather, it's essentially just asking all the projects that rely on this like naming that they kind of adhere to it within their own projects. Was that correct?
That's correct. It's really trying to put a name on that pattern that everyone's been doing.
Okay.
And sometimes people don't name it. Sometimes it's a different name. We wanted to, and the definition was not clear, but it sounded like everyone was doing a little bit of the same thing, but either without naming it, without defining it, it's always like, oh, deploy this controller here, and things, and now you can put your clusters and attach the clusters to that controller, and they'll work. But they were never very clear on the pattern and like showing it how it spoke and all that. I mean, some of them were better than others about having it. So,
Got it. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Thank you.
that's only a proposal. But there's no API behind it. Yeah, there's no. It's a naming alignment. This is definition alignment. It's the same way as sameness, right? There's no official thing. It's a position on the pattern.
Understood. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we don't have any further comments about this, let's move to next. So next, Mihashi and Wei-Cheng. Are you going to share your screen or?
Yeah, we can share. I'm kind of just so yeah, Wei Chung decided to pick up the validating webhook. And that's specifically for just like monitoring the resource binding changes. There was one thing that Wei Chung had asked, which I just wanted to get consensus with the community on, which is we only want to monitor updates to the resource binding, specifically when the resource binding has, or when the scheduler is attempting to add like a cluster to the resource binding, correct? Otherwise, like we shouldn't be monitoring resource binding creations because we're only going to be updating the quota whenever the scheduler actually decides to assign the resource binding to a cluster. Is that a correct understanding, or did we also expect it to be monitoring creates?
Yeah, I think so. The webhook will validating when scheduler try to create or update resource binding, right?
Okay.
John, can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can fill the filter the resource binding. VC has the spec clusters and VC is workload.
So one thing I want you to confirm is if the webhook is monitoring the resource binding, and if the event is going to change the schedule result.
Yeah,
So the webhook will check the quota, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So
I'm just trying to think if there are any overlaps between the creation and the update of the resource binding. So for like the update portion, we're going to be listening to spec.clusters, whether that has changed, or whether the replica requirements of the spec have changed. I guess on creation, that's also fine, but I thought I guess like if the actual creation gets rejected, will Karmada attempt to continue retrying to create the resource binding, or how does that work? Because with the update, it makes a little bit more sense conceptually for me.
okay, I think in most of um, in most case for the creation events, the the class the spec cluster spec dot cluster might be empty because at this time because the resource binding is usually created by Karmada controllers. So at that time, the scheduler has not read the schedule result. So so for the webhook, maybe the webhook just pass the creation events, and for updating events, maybe the webhook needs to check if the spec cluster fields change or not.
Okay, but we would only be checking to see like what the length of the Okay. I'm trying to think like with failover, will the resource binding at some point have multiple clusters listed within the spec.clusters? Because that would also impact the way the quota is calculated.
Sorry.
So we're gonna have to be careful with how we decide to update the federated resource quota overall used field. Just because in the case of like an application failover, let's say an application was scheduled to cluster A first, that update went through and we updated the quota usage. Let's say the application fails over to cluster B. Is it possible for the initial update of the resource bindings clusters to list both cluster A and cluster B? For example, if there's like a graceful eviction, won't it exist in two clusters at the same time? And if that's the case, like if we encroach like above the quota limit, will failover not go through as well?
Yeah, I think I understand you are trying to ask the situation where one workload is in process of a failover. So the resource usage may be counted twice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think um, uh, currently, I think for your use case, since you are uh, actually you are not using the graceful eviction, so the workload will be removed or deleted first, then created on another cluster. Uh, so I don't think this would make any impact for your use case. But I think you just the pointing the case that for graceful eviction, um, I think we can currently we can just count the resource usage as the real situation, because uh, when let's say when workload is migrating to another cluster, and even the uh, before the workload is deleted from the cluster, we should count its usage.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I
So
think we I think we can maybe we can have a more flexible way to handle the um, failover scenario, and maybe we can do that by next iteration. Or,
okay. Yeah, that sounds okay.
mm.
Wei Cheng, do you have questions?
Yeah, so just want to confirm, like go back to the previous question. So we only monitor the update event. Is that correct? So we don't want to block it in creation. Like when if a user specify like a huge resource quota, resource requirements while creations, the webhook should not block it during creation. It should only block it when it gets scheduled to another cluster.
Okay. Uh,
It,
yeah, for the federated resource quota feature, I think we don't need to handle the creation events. But for the webhook, maybe it will to handle other things like doing some validation job for the create events. So the webhook might still can receive the creation events, but we can just ignore the creation events for validating the the quota things.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I think we'll still have to monitor the creations, but we'll just filter out cases where either the cluster or the replica
Yeah.
requirements isn't set.
Yeah. Exactly.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. And for can you elaborate more on like the second questions? Like I think I know it's not going to impact like if we use purge mode like immediately, and if
Mm-hmm.
it's like for gracefully. In that case, you said we can probably can use another way to deal with it? Like, could you elaborate more on that, the other methods? Thanks.
Sorry. Do you can you repeat your question?
Yeah, so like you said we can use another methods like maybe in the future to deal with like uh the quota calculation,
Yeah.
graceful eviction
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
situations. And I kind of wondering, I didn't like follow on that part. Could you like
Mm-hmm.
repeat it again? Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Sure. I think. I mean, um, for 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 the graceful eviction um, feature, since let's say workload A, a workload is trying to um, moving from class A to class B, and in graceful eviction task feature, at some time point, the workload may be running both in class A and B. So currently, we can just calculate the resource usage twice. I think it's fair that the workload uh, running two instances in both clusters. But in the future, I think for the graceful eviction feature, we can introduce a more flexi way for us to maybe the system can figure out oh, the workload is in the process of a graceful eviction, so we don't need to calculate the resource twice. We uh, just need to calculate one. So I think we can make that enhancement.
Got it. Yeah, thank you so much.
So any more questions? By the way, Mihai, I see your PR today, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. Maybe I will do it tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, Zhang left some comments there, which were really helpful. So I'll update the PR after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, it should be good for final review. I think in terms of the feature completion so far, once we have the validation webhook, there are only a couple tickets left. So Zhang, I don't know if you were interested in picking up the edition of the events and conditions ticket, but if you'd like to pick that up, you can. And then otherwise, we just have to do the feature documentation. I have an additional question actually. For the cluster failover improvements, has that been pushed back to the next release, or is that still planned for the current release?
Oh, sure. Um, yeah, that's important thing. We I'm not sure if I think let me check the PR status.
Oh, I just saw the umbrella to get created. Okay.
Yeah. I think I will summarize the changes and the plans for this feature. Basically, we hope to make some refactor in this release. The refactor include some changes to some changes regarding to how to trigger the failover. So let's see. Currently, Karmada monitors the cluster hash status, and once the cluster is let's say once the cluster is offline, becomes offline, or becomes unhealthy, Karmada will perform the failover automatically. We think just the one condition, just the one factor um, to judge the cluster healthy is not enough. So we are going to maybe we are going to leave the decision to users, and at the same time we support other system uh, or we support a third-party system to send the signals to Karmada, tell Karmada some cluster may be in unhealthy state. So the user can decide which condition the Karmada should take into account before start the cluster failover. So basically, that's the change, and we hope to make the refactor work in this release, and for the next release, we hope to move to move or copy the stateful injection feature we already did in the application failover to class failover feature.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that then. I will potentially make a quick comment on the proposal just with regards to the toleration seconds, I think, improvement that we had been discussing a little bit at KubeCon. I'll just comment that, but you can be a side focus for proposal. I don't want to derail anything. But okay, sounds good.
Great.
Oh, I have one more question, also related to like related to failover, but it's related to application failover, and maybe it's also applicable to the cluster failover. Does it make sense to add like a time like limits of like time limits of like retrying? Like say we can specify like 3 and we only fail over the application for 3 times at most. And because right now I'm also trying that feature.
Trying to fit.
Sorry.
Sorry, are you seeing? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
network not good right now. Yeah, I'm trying to say we trying to migrate the workloads for at most 3 times or something.
Yeah, like add a field to specify the limit of retrying.
Yeah, I might
Because like
have different opinions because we are trying to do is first thing want to make sure the workload is really affected by cluster failure by cluster failure, and so we are trying to introduce more factors help us to understand if a cluster is really in unhealthy state.
Oh,
So
sorry. We can like limit it to like application failover first. Like,
mhm.
like in application wise, maybe it makes sense because like for a job, in the
Yeah.
new API they have like a backup limits and something like it can restrict the times for retrying. And in the application side, for application failover feature, sometimes an application might get like preempted or something, and it
Mm-hmm.
will become unhealthy. And
Mm.
but we don't want it to be like if it I could need to use a big amount of resources. We don't want it to be like repeatedly fail over like for only
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, I think both cluster failover and the application failover, um, we both consider the time window that uh, for the job or for the application can be recovered in the single cluster. So um, so I think the Karmada doing the migration things only after the workloads or the job cannot be recovered in memory cluster. I think that's what we are trying to do.
Got it.
Mhm.
Got it. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So if no further questions, so see you next time.
That's good. Thanks a
Bye.
lot. Bye.
Mm.
Bye. Thank you.